All right, thank you everyone for joining us. We will call this meeting to order at 6:41 p.m. All board members are present. We have the report of action taken on closed session items.
We have one card for that.
Thank you. Agenda item 6, Mr. Anthony Portillo, report of action taken in closed session.
Good afternoon. It's fascinating summertime dream meetings. Ms. Goberson reminded me and told me, be aware of summer. More action happens during the meetings during the summer because it's the end of the financial period and the beginning ready for a new school year. So the administrators are putting a lot of things out there. So I noticed today, as I was pouring through the agenda, 5 o'clock. I went to the calendar, the annual calendar, and it's superintendent review. As I brought up in the past with previous superintendents, you had an evaluation today. It was closed session. However, I've asked in the past for a job description of the superintendent. I know they got a contract, but what is their job description? Job descriptions are important for KIPs, key performance indicators, or whatever an organization wants to call it, a matrix. What are the matrix that you're evaluating your administrators with? And that should be made available to the public. I'm not asking for the conversation that takes place on the human resource level. I want to be able to see what are the performance indicators of these administrators, match it with their job description, and see what's going on at the schools or in the public or in the budget. So I'd like to know how you evaluate your administrators, senior administrators, the superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Portillo. Next up, we have,
Your readouts.
just kidding.
So, no, do this one.
Which one?
And that would be right there.
You just confused me.
You have-
All three of these, right?
You're gonna read that one, and
Okay. Report out of closed session. The governing board has conducted an annual performance evaluation of the superintendent for the 2023-2024 school year, which indicates a satisfactory rating. There is no change in compensation nor the terms of the existing contract. In closed session, the governing board also took the following action. During closed session, the board voted to approve a settlement agreement in special education case SE number 2023-2024/05. The motion was made by Dr. Aguilar, seconded by Mrs. Flores, and the vote was 5-0 in support. In closed session, the governing board took the following action regarding consideration of liability claim, file claim number 2411791. The Charter Oak Unified School District approves the denial or rejection of claim for damages, file claim number 2411791 as presented in closed session. The motion was made by Mr. Peterson, seconded by Dr. Aguilar, and the vote was 5-0 in approval. Now it's time for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mrs. Flores, could you lead us, please?
Yes, would you all please stand? Please go ahead and over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we have public comment. Do we have any cards? I don't see that.
yeah, pledge allegiance.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Just kidding. ROP report, Mrs. Flores.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to share some great news this evening. The San Gabriel Valley ROP received 4 grants. We will be partnering with the Early Education and Child Development Program with Baldwin Park and Walnut Valley, Patient Care with Azusa, Baldwin Park, Glendora, Walnut Valley, Engineering, Azusa Baldwin Park, Charter Oak, Walnut Valley. Computer Science, Information Support Services, Baldwin Park and Walnut Valley. This is a $10 million award that we will be receiving from the state. Thank you. This concludes my report.
Thank you. Now we'll move to our superintendent report. Dr. Jordan?
Great, thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's great to see everybody. This is officially our end of the 23-24 season. And so we do have a lot of items for your consideration tonight as for us to continue business in the 24-25 year, we've got to renew all of our supporting items that we do for our kids in our classrooms. Just want to report out on just a couple things. First of all, I want to thank the board for all of your support in regards to getting us through the 23-24 year, attending all the end of the year activities that took place. I want to thank all of our site personnel and our support staff who really put on an end of the year spectacular across the board, whether it was promotions, graduations, award ceremonies. I also want to thank our Charter Oak Ed Foundation for their recent donation to all of our schools. Very appreciative of the fact that they want to make sure that they're doing things to help support student learning and give the resources to our schools to be able to do that. On the flip side of that, for those of you that were able to attend the high schools, both high schools, the award ceremony, Charter Oak Community Scholarship Foundation this year gave out almost $50,000 in scholarships to our students. And I had a chance to meet with Marcia and Wendy the other day. And first of all, we are super appreciative of their support of our kids. That is huge for them. But in meeting with the two of them on behalf of the Scholarship Foundation, they're super proud of the work that they do behind the scenes. And that really means a lot to them to give back to us. So I know that this board helps support that foundation. I know a lot of our employees do and our community does. So I just wanted to do a shout out to them and say, thank you for what they do. And hopefully we continue that really long partnership as we move forward. Last thing I just want to wrap up with is, even though the school year's over, I'm really proud of the work that out of Ed Services and the work that the business department and HR come together to put on our extended year with summer school. The work that, we have over 1,400 students from K-12 right now that are involved in some type of extended learning opportunity. And the work that our aides and our teachers, our site administrators, that's pretty big. 5 years ago, I think we were lucky to have maybe 200 or 300 kids involved in some type of summer program. And now we've built that up to really enriching opportunities and activities for them. So kudos to all of them who've been working on that. Before you know it, it'll be over, and it'll be August 14th, the first day of school, believe it or not. And we're excited about the next year. So that concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Anthony Portillo with the subject Jeanette Flores comments, 6/13/24, special meeting.
Okay, first, I want to make note that the minutes were not available for the special meeting of 6/13. I had to really find the information that was going on. So based on the information in board member comments, I take exception to. This is a quote. I also wanted to share that I've been on the board since 2015. This is the first time, then I moved down a couple sentences. She thanks the business office because this is the first time that she saw a clear and comprehensive vision of the budget. So you've been on the board for 9 years, 8 years, and you're voting yes on things you aren't aware of, you're not clear. That's concerning. You suggest that in previous administrations, they lacked honesty, ethical, and integrity. Wow. You're going on the board a long time. At what point do you stop and say, I need clarification? I know you all blow the fact that I'm here, but these are the kind of questions I want. Most people here are nice people. That's great. That's not what these meetings are for. These meetings are to find out, chisel down what's going on. And if you knew that there was false enrollment reporting and errors in the budget, shame on you. Now, on the budget, you say you speak with experience as a senior board member on the dais. Mr. Rose has been here for 10 years, maybe 11, and yet you pay little attention what he has to say. You pay little attention what I have to say. But I'm telling you, I've learned the budget here from Carol Wilkerson. Okay, piece it apart. She always went, had a big old folder, opened it up, and she immediately went to personnel assignment and consent calendar. That's how you know what's going on in an agency. Then you suggest that people don't understand the budget when they ask questions. That's why I'm asking questions. That's why Mr. Rose, I'm sorry I'm calling you out, Mr. Rose. That's why he asks questions, because we don't understand it, or we're thinking something else. Remember, I don't have a fancy education. I'm not as bright as you all. I need clarification. Okay? Here's one word I impress upon you. Stop using it when it comes to finances. We understand
Thank you, Mr.
that you
Portillo.
use the word magic. You cannot have
Mr. Portillo,
suggest that the budget is designed on magic.
thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
No, you don't.
Do we have any more cards?
Not for public comment.
All right, moving forward to discussion, board policy revisions, the first reading. I'll entertain a motion.
No motion, just
No motion, just
discussion for
discussion.
first reading.
Oh, okay.
Any questions?
Do we have any questions? Mr. Rose? We're on item 11, discussion on the first reading of board policy.
Are we gonna discuss this right now?
This is discussion, yeah.
No presentation at all?
It's in the documents that were emailed out.
Yeah,
Okay.
every time we have a discussion, we always have presentation from the staff, gives information, but not.
Only on.
Yeah, that, not on vote, items that don't require voting. But if you'd like a brief over, can you give them a quick summary?
Sure, I can have Dr. Kim, that comes out of his department.
Okay.
Absolutely, my pleasure, Madam President. So the board policy revision that is brought to your attention here as a first reading, or consideration as a first reading, is really as a result of a Senate bill that came into play that required an alternative pathway, diploma pathway for certain students with disabilities. This alternative pathway requires all school districts in California to grant a diploma for students that meet minimally graduation requirements in an alternative credit setting, as long as they meet two requirements. Number one, it's dictated through their IEP, determined through their IEP that they are eligible for the California Alternative Assessment, which is a different type of standardized assessment for certain students with disabilities. And secondly, that they can sufficiently meet these requirements per their disability. In doing so, this alternative pathway would grant these kids a full-fledged diploma, much like you would see any other student in our schools that graduate.
So, Mr. Rose, this has our language updated so that it would be in compliance with the law, changes in state law.
Right, I have a question about sponsored students. If I read correctly, sponsored student can receive diploma after 2 years of education in high school?
Depending on the foster student and their condition or status, so foster students already have an existing alternative means to receiving a diploma. So whereas they can have, our graduation requirements have a minimum of 220 credits, they can have a reduced amount of credits based on their conditions, their background, their history. They would work through their counselor and determine what would be the appropriate amount of credits that aligns with the state requirements so that they can receive a diploma.
So, and you answered my question, yes, they can graduate with 2 years in high school.
Minimally 130 credits, I believe, so.
Oh, 130 credits, that's about 2 years,
Roughly,
is that right?
roughly. Yeah, I would take it as certain types of courses that they would need, not necessarily the amount of years, if you will.
If I may interject, Mr. Rose, what happens when these students move around? Oftentimes, they don't get their last grades, so they don't get the credits if they change schools like 3 weeks before school is out. So the point of this law is to try to remedy them not being able to graduate with a diploma because of situations that they can't control.
Okay, I understand that, I just wanna make sure that the foster student can get adequate education. I understand, I'm not a foster child myself, but I have worked with foster students in the past. But, I'm trying to see, we provide foster students adequate education. Not just gold diploma that you may leave, because that's something that, I'm concerned with. But I also indicate here that the superintendent or the designee can decide whether the foster student can receive a diploma.
Correct, that's correct.
No, the designee is what? Could be you, right? It could be.
School-sided,
It could be, when did we get that?
typically it's a school-side administration working in consult with their counselors.
Thank you.
And students who are impacted by this very often start to have a lot of other barriers because they have to get a GED or drop out and they're not able to have a diploma. So the changes in this law will be very beneficial for that group of people. Any other discussion, questions?
We'll bring that back in August for your consideration. It is
Oh, okay, let me get it.
6146.1. I believe it is. Oh, you mean on
On
the
your
paper
printed one.
agenda? Yeah, it's on the online.
I think she's asking when we print them in the future to add it to the agenda. Okay, all right. Moving on, let's see, where are we? Business services. Approval and adoption of the final budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. Oh, we have public comment here?
For this one.
Section A?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna move to public comment for action items. Mr. Portillo, false student attendance report and budget errors? False, okay, thank you.
I apologize, I had those nice revisions, I dropped them somewhere, and
I thought it had said FAFSA, that's why I was,
oh, okay.
yeah.
So that was the other half.
I was like, let's do this.
Okay, once again, I know because it's like a sore thumb. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Portillo. All right, we'll go to, is there another?
Oh, no, we have to now get a motion on this.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for the approval and adoption of final budget for the 24-25 fiscal year.
So moved?
Mrs. Flores, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Dr. Aguilar, is there any discussion?
I have a
Discussion?
comment. I think I know last week I asked a lot of questions about the budget. Because now we learn that we will no longer receive any federal money coming in. The COVID funds is done, it's over. We're back to square one. We're back to square one, and that's where we all need to step up and say, okay, where are we right now in this upcoming fiscal year? The number that, my understanding, the number that we receive in the proposal is what it will look like in the next 3 years, the proposal. So that's something that we all understand, that we have deficits that is coming in, and that we need to find a way to, how do I see this, manage the fund, manage the budget. I appreciate the opportunity that the district gave me the answer to my question about this budget. I think this is a good proposal that I think that we're going to see more of it on number two when we after we approve this budget. We're going to look at a number two. Now, not totally, but number two is that how it will help us stabilize our budget down the line. So I'm looking forward to really ask more questions in the coming months.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll move for the vote. Mr. Rose?
Aye.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
I am also a yes. Motion carries 5-0. I'll now entertain a motion for the approval of Charter Oak Unified School District Fiscal Stabilization Plan. Oh, is that a comment for this?
We have a card for this one?
All right. Stabilization, Mr. Portillo.
Okay, I'm being motivated by Mrs. Flores' comments. So I just wanted to clarify, for the folks that don't understand or don't know numbers or the budgets. All right. So I would like a clarification so I could understand stabilization. And I guess you have to, I saw numbers that come to $1 million something is your first round of cutbacks. But is there a itemized list of where those cutbacks are gonna be? And are they ready to be implemented? So I'm asking for, through email, the list of stabilization, which allows you to get to that $1 million+ number to meet the needs of your current budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Portillo. I'll now entertain a motion. Mr. Peterson, is there a second?
I'll make the second.
Dr. Aguilar, is there any discussion? Was that a signal for discussion?
Would we like to have these matters addressed, or any question or clarification provided? Because for these comments on agenda items, we can't address that.
Yes.
Yeah, we can. I wanted to know if you guys had additional questions, because Dr. Dr. Jordan is gonna answer all of those.
Good, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
I have
Yes.
a question. I have a question. So this action, it goes through this fiscal year and the following fiscal year. And we're hoping to see a saving of just over $2 million. Right? Yeah, and that could change, of course. That can change, but that's the idea that we're looking at to balance our budget. Now with reduction, it seems like we're going slowly the next 2 years in order to save $2 million. That's still a deficit of next year,
So,
next year,
Let me-
2025
let me set up.
or 26.
Yeah, let me set up the why, and then I'll have Ms. Branford get a little bit more detail into those three reductions for the 24-25 year. So the reason why this is before you as a consideration is the county at the second interim, knowing that school districts, as Mr. Rose has pointed out, will be losing your one-time funding here over the next year and a half. And so what they're asking school districts to do right now is knowing that the COLAs have really dropped drastically. You think about it, last year we had over 8% COLA, now we're barely touching a hair over 1%. And so remember, those COLAs, that's your revenue generation. So when budgets were prepared last year, and we always have to prepare the next 2 years after that, we proposed, and this board approved, a 3-year budget based off of the numbers that we were given last year. And as I mentioned, those have gone down now, so revenues have dropped drastically across the state in all school districts. So when the revenue goes down, and if your expenses are built to be the same, obviously you're going to have a deficit, you're going to have a gap. One of the ways that you can address your gap is you could, as an option, use some reserves. But what the county is always cautious of is you shouldn't live that way. I'll give you an example. If at home you have a checking and a savings account, and each month you overspend in the checking and you go to your savings and you never replenish your savings, at some point you're going to go to your savings and it's going to be zero. Same thing operates in any type of organizational budget. If you're not looking at making expense reductions as you move forward, then if you keep going to your savings account, eventually it's going to be zero. And part of the county's responsibility for oversight, which is what we already do really well in our district, is making sure that we have a plan on how we can address any type of deficit. If you recall, back in May, I addressed the board on the 3 areas that we're going to put focal points on, and they all intertwine. There's a reason why I did that. The budget drives everything. Enrollment drives your budget. Revenues drive your budget. So we're on the right track, but in this stabilization plan, this is designed about the first step on how we can start reducing our expenses in our out years to start matching our revenues, which is what I heard real clearly from the board last week, is that we've got to reduce that structural deficit. I'll be quite honest with you, you don't have to be a genius on how to do this. When it becomes a negative down the road, you don't want to be there. You don't want to wait till it hits zero across the board and then come to the board and say, oh, what do we do? So we are being very proactive, working ahead 1 to 2 years right now. So with that said, I'm going to have Ms. Branford talk a little bit more about this first year, about exactly what that looks like for that $1 million.
So for this first year, we actually did implement some of these things. If you recall, our contributions to, say, our special ed programs and other programs that we typically contribute to, there were efforts made to reduce some of our contracts. And so that was actually built into the budget to be able to reduce some of those contributions. On the operations overheads, that again can be monitored, right? So our utilities, so we look at usage and we find ways to reduce some of those expenses. And so the maintenance department and facilities are continually looking at our usage data and find ways for us to reduce. So we have to be intentional. So we think we can work on some of those things and achieve some of those savings. or realignment. So educational services work with business office to find ways for us to realign some of our expenditures in ways that we are actually shifting some of our costs from one side of the budget to the other so we can create some savings. Going into the 25-26, some of these things does not have details yet, but we are continually building up on some of those things. And so the county office is okay with us being a little bit broad, because that's an out year. So they'll give us some time to kind of fine tune the details. As we get into the first interim, we'll be able to identify more specific areas so that we're able to target more reductions. And we'll be able to add maybe another year if we need to. Again, we have reserves, we're still meeting our reserves, but of course we want to cut that deficit spending. And so we will continue to look for areas to reduce.
I think the other thing that I would add is that, remember, when you do a 3-year budget, you're predicting the next 2 years based off of assumptions that you know as of today. As we've learned very clearly in the state of California, is that each year these assumptions have gone up, and then this year they've gone down. So as of right now, we build this plan, but let's say a year from now, miraculous state recovery, there's an abundant surplus in the budget, they give schools higher COLAs more money. Now, these are things that potentially that you can look at other ways of reducing your deficit and paying off some long-term, whatever. So it fluctuates. Moment in time, this is the starting point. We budget, the business office monitors this daily. So really appreciative of the work that they're doing on this.
So if I may then, a little bit more directly to the comment then, because it is the out-year projections, the county does not require a specific itemization of where changes or adjustments will be made because, as we are aware and they are aware, those assumptions will be changing, right? Revenue may increase or decrease, expenses may increase or decreases by other means outside of what is under the control of the district. And so therefore, they only request a general accounting of where is the current deficit projected, and then how will that specific dollar amount be accounted for if need be under the current assumptions.
Correct, and they understand if it's related to staffing. We don't want to put specific details out there if it's not truly going to happen.
Right, and so therefore the actual itemized accounting technically occurs then in the adopted budget of that current year once that year is reached. So
Yes.
if we say 25-26, for example, then when we get to that year and we are actually adopting a budget for 25-26, any specific changes that are then developed at that point, now that actual time has arrived and now the assumptions can be true,
Yes.
or changed to be whatever is accurate and true, then that's what's built into that budget in that year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aguilar. Mr. Rose?
I want to respond to Dr. Aguilar. And yeah, all based on assumption, yes. But we do know that there's no money from the federal government coming in. Last year was the last time we get the money from the federal. Do you know how much we received from them?
It's been a while, but we did receive quite a lot of federal dollars. If I were to
There were
take a
multiple
guess, maybe
years.
15.
Remember, there were multiple years of distribution of federal money, and then there also were multiple years of state monies. I want to say we were somewhere cumulatively federal, a little bit over $10 million.
It was over 10 million, maybe around 13 million.
And that's going back to the pandemic.
Yeah, I remember. Now, we know that we're not getting any more money from the federal. The reason I repeated it because that's the big one. We're a small district, we're experiencing declining enrollments. The cost of health care has gone up. Operating expenses gone up. So everything is sort of like against us. But it's nice that we be more proactive and watching our budget and tightening our belt. We need to send the message out to the community to say this is where we are at right now, and we'll be okay. We all work together to get through this financial crisis. We are eventually to get through this.
I think also, just to be clear, the budget that you approved this evening and have adopted for the next 3 years. All of these assumptions, lack of one-time money, declining enrollment, increased projections in health and welfare, step and column, any type of retirement, people, all those things, that is built into the budget, right? And so it's not like we didn't take those things into consideration. That's what you approved tonight, all those assumptions that the business department works on.
And also, I would also add that because we approve a budget that is positively certified, that essentially is defining the fact that our 3 years, current and 2 out years, are accounted for in such a way that the county is aware and the district is aware that we will be fiscally solvent for those 3 years. And of course, as we continue going forward and projecting whatever future 3 years, maintaining that positive certification is what really is the priority. You know, previously, I believe in, was it 2020 perhaps? Or maybe 2019.
2019.
Thank you, 2019. There was a qualified budget, I believe, that was proposed, if I'm
Yes.
correct.
First interim, 2019.
First interim, 2019, right, was a qualified budget, which is essentially a condition of saying, okay, well, perhaps there is going to be challenges, or the accounting shows that that district's budget may not be able to, but by the time we get around to actually getting to the official budget, having that positive certification really is the key there, ensuring that we are proposing and the county is approving a budget that is sound for 3 years out.
Any other discussion, comments? All right, we've been moved and seconded. We'll now call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson? I am also a yes. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 3, do we have any cards?
No, we're good for it.
All right. I'll entertain a motion for Resolution 11-23-24, fund balance commitment.
I'll make the motion.
Dr. Aguilar, any second?
A second?
Mrs. Flores, is there any discussion? Any discussion, Mr. Rose? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
I am also a yes. Motion carries 5-0. Item B, educational services. Any cards here? Consolidated application for funding categorical aid program. Is there a motion? Mr. Peterson, is there a second?
I was second.
Mr. Rose, is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
I am also a yes. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 2, local control and accountability plan. Are there any cards? Nothing here? Okay, got it. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Dr. Aguilar, any second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Flores, any discussion? Mr. Peterson?
I'd just like to say thank you to Dr. Kim and his team. It's a very large document, what is it, 96 pages? But it's basically our roadmap for the next 3 years in the district. And it's critical that we have a plan in place and we get there, because it sets goals of what we anticipate. And it's Dr. Jordan and his team's job to get those goals and get everybody moving in the same direction to meet those goals. So thanks for all the work on that. If anybody's, and I believe a copy is on the website, correct? Yeah,
It will be once the board approves it.
thank you.
Mr. Rose?
I have a question. I want to talk about the ADA, that we experienced a loss of $1.3 million on the ADA because due to drop from 97% to 92% over several years, that's a drop millions of dollars. And the projection numbers for this from last fiscal year is more positive, but it's going to go up maybe between 92, 94. But in actual numbers, we lost $1.3 million. I'd like to ask the district and see what action or what plan do you have in place to increase the ADA in order to not further lose any more funding that we can't afford to. What action the district will plan to do to handle it? I'm asking you what plan do you have in place to help with the ADA?
I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah.
Dr. Kim, you want to talk a little bit about what we did this year and what we'll continue doing?
Absolutely, and it is a concern of ours as well. Up and down the state, I'm sure, talking with my colleagues in other districts, it's a universal concern. Specifically here in our school district, attendance and specifically addressing and improving attendance, as well as decreasing chronic absenteeism has been a target of ours for the entire school year. We are seeing incremental growth. So we're not experiencing transformational growth, it's incremental growth. And I think it's realistic, and it's an approach that says we want to improve attendance. We know there's reasons why kids are hesitant or families are hesitant to bring their kids to school for a variety of different reasons. Certainly, COVID has changed people's mindset about perhaps about when they should stay at home when they're sick or not. And so keeping that in mind, we've taken a lot of measures this year. Inclusive of that, our school sites have created both positive means by which they're communicating with families, incentives for kids being in classrooms and showing up every single day. And in addition to that, we've also continued our accountability measures, which is inclusive of going through the entire SART and SART process, which involves more harsher accountability with regards to families. But the other component that we want to add is that we think some of the new actions that's reflected in this LCAP are going to be powerful for addressing or improving attendance. Inclusive of that is our community schools program specialists that we have been fortunate enough to hire through the board's actions. And part of their role is going to be really monitoring and improving student attendance and decreasing chronic absenteeism. So we're proud of that. They're going to spearhead that. There'll be leaders around that. They'll work in concert with principals as well as teachers in addressing that piece.
Yeah, about 6 months ago when we had a study section with round table. We had study section involving round table at each school site. Mr. Peterson brought up the issue of chronic absenteeism. He stressed his concern and shared with each administrator what can you do to keep students in class and bring the students to school and attending classes. I'm hoping that the district has a plan in place to reduce the chronic absenteeism. And I appreciate that Mr. Peterson has said that 6 months ago. My concern now that a new upcoming budget from the state, we're getting funding based on the ADA number, right? So this upcoming fiscal year, once the governor signed the budget at the end of June, the state will allocate funding to Charter Oak based on 92% of the ADA.
Well, it's an average, so we'll be funded on a 3-year average, prior 3-year average.
Oh, that's right, we did mention that. So that kind of bump up a little bit, but 92 kind of real low, hitting real low. That hurt us quite a bit, but hopefully that the district will take action to see the number increase in the following 2 years or so.
Any other discussion? I have one question. I did request last time that we add our FAFSA completion rate, and I see it. It says the baseline is 54%. I'm assuming that's our completion rate for this year?
57% was our completion rate this year, correct.
Okay. With that being a requirement for graduation now, what did the rest of the students do? I know they can do a military waiver.
Well, required by law is that they have to have either completion of their FAFSA or an opt-out form. So those families that did not choose to do their FAFSA for their students, they signed off on the opt-out form.
And are we doing appropriate outreach to the families? I'm asking because California actually released a statement of how much financial aid was left on the table, which is one of the reasons first-gen students decide whether they will go to college or not. And so I'm wondering if we do appropriate outreach to parents to let them know that the opt-out form should be like a last-ditch effort and that they should apply because it might help them make a better decision.
Really great question. They have done outreach. I think they are assessing the school sites are with regards to rationale as to why we had such a decrease this year compared to last year.
Right.
As a matter, just matter of information, last year we had about a 70% completion percentage. So part of their assessment and evaluation is part of the changes that occurred with this year's FAFSA forms. And though it was attempted to be a simplified process, I think there were some hurdles for kids to complete it, inclusive of that, it just signing on and having their parents involved in creating their own accounts as well. Regardless to say, yes, I think they are already evaluating how do we improve this for next year and make sure that we're really targeting kids and getting those completed.
And so our goal here is 75% average by the third year. Do we have any benchmark goals between now and 26, 27?
I think year by year, we want to see where can we get back to where we're at the very least last year, which was 70%, which we thought was a good start to this process. And so this year, we all admittedly said this is a strong departure from where we were last year. How do we get to at least a benchmark where we were last year? And so henceforth, our 3-year target was an average to get to 75%, knowing that the baseline was a low starting point. So I think we have some work to do, and I think our school sites are up for that challenge.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, we have the motion and second on the floor. I'll now call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson? I am also a yes. Motion carries 5-0. Moving next to human resources. Do we have any cards for anything in this session? Okay, great. I keep getting caught off guard. Declaration of need for fully qualified educators. Will someone make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Dr. Aguilar, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Flores, is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
I am also a yes. Motion carries 5-0. Next item, credential waivers. I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Peterson, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Flores, is there any discussion? Mr. Peterson? Mr. Peterson?
What, I don't know, let's call it
This will go to Dr. Meg.
what would be the reason for a credential waiver?
In the instance that this is referring to, it's 3 of our new program specialists for the community schools. All 3 are currently working on their PPS credential, and they can get a waiver in as much as you're currently working on it, so they are doing that at this time.
And that's good for 1 year, correct?
Correct.
Is that all, Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Rose?
No, I think.
Same question. Any other questions? All right, we've been moved and seconded. I will call the question. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
I am also a yes. Motion carries 5-0. Approval of principal of adult education. Is there a first? Mr. Peterson, a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Dr. Aguilar. Dr. Jordan, do you have a recommendation?
I do. I am pleased to introduce to the board my recommendation for the adult ed principal, Dr. Elena Effinger.
Is there any discussion?
I think I'll just make a general comment. I know we're all very proud of our adult education program, the amazing work that's been done there over the years, and we're excited to see a new member added to the team to be able to continue to head that up and maintain that level of excellence. So I'm excited to have this vote tonight.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Well, welcome to Charter Oak School District. Oh, just kidding. Let's vote first. I take back the welcome for the record, please. I take it back. We'll call the question. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
I'm also a yes, motion carries. And now I would,
Let me introduce her now.
okay. I want to put the welcome back now. Thank you.
Now we can. Well, thank you to
I
the
was
board.
excited, sorry.
It's my pleasure, Dr. Eppinger, if you don't mind standing. I'm going to put you on the spot for a moment. She comes to us from a neighboring district. She's been in education for over 19 years, came with outstanding recommendations and a proven track record. She currently is an elementary principal who is excited about transitioning over to the adult learners, and we are super excited to have you, and just want to say welcome. And if you've got anyone with you tonight to introduce, or if you're by yourself?
I'm actually by myself.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm excited to begin to continue the excellence that our adult education program has been working on in Charter Oak. So thank you.
So welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Now you can say welcome.
You stole my line.
No, you can still say it.
Yes, welcome to Charter Oak. We're so happy to have you. All right, next up, approval of amendment to contract Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Do it first and second,
Okay,
and then you do the readout.
all right. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Dr. Aguilar, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Flores,
We'll read that.
for discussion. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision C3, the board provides this, just kidding. Where are we? Oral summary of the amendment to contract for Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources employment agreement between Charter Oak Unified and Margaret Abrahamson, EDD. The contract term will be effective June 30th, through June 30th, 2028. All other terms and conditions of employment contract remain the same. Is there any other discussion?
Point of order.
Yes,
Yeah, are we supposed to vote for the approval of the principal, adult ed?
we did.
We did.
That was Dr. Effinger.
Yeah, that was, we already voted on that one.
We did that, did we?
Yeah, now we're here.
Remember I kept telling her congratulations at the wrong time?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
okay.
that.
Got him.
Is there any discussion about the contract for Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
I am also a yes, motion carries 5-0. Next, we have the approval of amendment to contract Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Dr. Aguilar, is there a second? Mr. Peterson? Before we move into discussion, pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision C3, the board provides this oral summary of the amendment to contract for Assistant Superintendent of Educational Employment Agreement between Charter Oak Unified School District and Danny Kim, EDD. The contract term will be effective through June 30th, 2028. All other terms and conditions of employment contract remain the same. Is there any discussion? No. Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
I am also a yes. Motion carries 5-0. Next, the approval of amendment to contract Chief Business Officer. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Mr. Rose, is there a second?
I'll
Mr.
second.
Peterson? Oh, everybody seconded.
Give it to Peterson, give it to Peterson.
Mr. Peterson? Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision C3, the board approves this oral summary of the amendment to contract for Chief Business Officer employment agreement between Charter Oak Unified School District and Carrill Branford. Contract term effective through June 30th, 2028. All other terms and conditions of employment contract remain the same. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
I am also a yes. Motion carries 5-0. We'll now move to our consent calendar. Item 8.
He's gonna combine those.
Okay. I can't,
Consent calendar.
Is that D?
It's, D minutes.
Okay. Do I need to call? Yeah, okay.
It's all for consent.
Yeah, it's all for consent. Okay, so we'll have Mr. Portillo come up for item D, superintendent, and then.
For minutes,
And minutes,
and then also combining scope
scope.
under consent.
Okay, Mr. Portillo? Mr. Portillo? Third time, is Mr. Portillo in the room? You just made it, Mr. Portillo, are you ready?
What item are we on?
A consent calendar. Are you ready to speak?
Yes. Okay, on the consent calendar, we were already with several items. First, I mentioned earlier, no minutes for the special meeting on the 13th. It's imperative that minutes be produced. I also learned that there is no timeline to publish any meetings after a meeting. I mean, you can publish them 4 months from now. You just have to have them, but it would be appreciated to be done as soon as possible. So people like me can read them and comment. Second, on the consent calendar, you have a contract with Leadership Associates. Can you describe what type of service, scope of services they're providing?
Can do that.
You want to finish your comment and then we can answer your questions? So you don't run out of time?
Right, no, that's all right. Point of fact, Leadership Associate, did you know one of the founding principals, owners of the company, Charter Oak? I don't know if he's still there, but he helped find that company, Leadership Associate. I was introduced to him by my dear friend, Carol Gilbert. So the relationship is tight. I always thought Leadership Associate came in for recruiting purposes, but now we're seeing something else. What else are they providing?
Thank you. Dr. Jordan, would you like to address that?
Sure, I can update the board on that. Leadership Associates is a professional organization that school districts across the state of California use. They range everything from a search firm for superintendents, assistant superintendents, but they are primarily focused right now on leadership development. And we've used Leadership Associates for the last 5 years to work on enhancing development with our administrators. We also do some work with them with our leadership seminar group for our employees. So there's a variety of activities that they do.
Thank you. All right, it's been moved and seconded. I'll call for the question. Mr. Rose? No? Yeah, that's how we got to discussion. Oh,
No, we haven't asked if there's anything to be pulled.
sorry, guys. I'm just not on my A game today. Oh, yeah. Does anything need to be pulled?
Any items for consent?
I do.
Mr. Rose?
Help me, I'm gonna go slow with this here. There's a handful I wanna pull out for consideration. This consent calendar is number 13, right? 13A,
A13, acceptance of
Five.
completion.
13, right? 13A5, which is the contract for school fertility consultants.
13A5, okay.
B. Let's see, I have it, one moment, please. RCB, I'm sorry, C, letter C, number 2,
Okay.
certificated personal assignments order. Letter D, number 2, board policy revision, second reading. And number 4, contract agreement with Leadership Associate.
Okay.
Number 5, Leadership Associate. That's it.
Okay, just to reiterate, we have item A5, school facility consultants. We then have C2, certificated personnel assignment order. We then have D2, board policy revision, second reading. D4, contract agreement, executive advisement services, leadership associates. And D5, contract agreement, superintendent's leadership network, leadership associates. Is there, you have something?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exceptions of 13A5, 13C2, 13D2, 13D4, and 13D5.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Flores, any discussion? No, consent, no, sorry, just kidding. Vote. Yeah, we're about to go to a vote for these, and then we'll go to the rest of them. Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson? Yes. I am also a yes. Motion carries 5-0. We'll now go to item A5, contract school facility consultants. Is there a motion?
I move.
Mr. Rose, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Flores, discussion? Mr.
I
Rose?
don't see the attachment of the contract.
I'm sorry.
I did not see the attachment of the contract.
Oh, okay.
Why there's no
Mr.
attach?
Edford can talk about it.
Okay.
Typically, is just a letter extending the agreement that we had in place. So it's kind of rolling over what we had before.
That was it?
Yes.
Okay. I call for a vote.
Mr. Rose?
Aye.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson? Yes. I am also a yes. Motion carries 5-0. We'll now move on to item C2, certificated personnel assignment. Is there a motion? Need a
I
motion?
move.
All right, and a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Flores, is there any discussion? Mr. Rose?
Yeah, I'm going to abstain from voting. As my daughter is on the substitute list. Let the board know why I will abstain from voting.
Thank you. All right, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Rose?
Abstain.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson? Yes. I am also a yes. Motion carries 4 yes, 0 no's, 1 abstention. Next item, D2, board policy revisions, second reading. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Dr. Aguilar, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Rose, is there any discussion?
There's a lot of changes in how we conduct in the meeting. That's what it is, right? Second reading based on how we conduct meeting by voting. So there's a breakdown of the voting, the 2/3 and then
Yes.
unanimous, all this. There is one, I want to ask for clarification. They also mentioned that from now on, the board, anytime they have to have study section or the retreat or something, it has to be put under a regular meeting. Is that what it is? That's the new one.
There's 3 on there. Can you refer specifically to which one you're looking at?
Well, all 3, like the retreat, study section. I can't remember the third one, I don't know.
He wants to make
But
sure he
from now
understands.
on, have to be regular meeting.
I think Mr. Rosie's asking which board policy number are you referring to? So there were several policy revisions under this item. Which one are you specifically referring to in this question?
I just want a clarification.
Yeah, but can you tell us the board policy number?
He's summarizing all of them,
It's
right?
it's
there
the
a num-
meeting notes in 9320.
So if you're referring to 9320, again, these are recommendations that come from CSBA. We are just working on trying to update our policies from, some of this was dated back to 2023. And so it stipulates that a business meeting versus a study session or a workshop, it just stipulates in terms of how you have to still follow the same guidelines, as well as posting it and conducting the business as the same. So it just consistently makes all meetings look exactly the same, which we're already in compliance in that. Our meetings already do all these, but we just wanted to update the board policy so it reflects what we're doing.
What was your question about the name, what we're calling each meeting? I think, is that what your question is?
Yeah,
So I think he wanted clarity in terms of what we name each of the meetings.
Yeah, so we run, typically we have two types of meetings. We have a business meeting such as tonight, and then the other meeting that we run is what we did like last week. We do 4 to 5 of those a year, and those are board study sessions.
okay.
And by business meeting, regular meeting is also synonymous with that.
Exactly. A regular meeting, a business meeting is where the board will take action on an item, such as all the items that we've seen tonight. Yeah.
Right, because the study sessions aren't business meetings, we don't vote just generally on items.
Correct. A study session is an information evening, a chance for Q&A to try to present. Like, for example, Mr. Rose referred earlier, in February, we do our mid-year report. He was referring where principals sit at the tables, the board goes from table to table, and it's an opportunity for the principals to provide an update as to the work that's going on at their school sites, and then the board can ask questions.
Any other questions or comments? All righty, we'll call the question. Mr. Rose?
Yes,
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson? Yes. I am also a yes. Motion carries 5-0. Next item, D2, contract agreement, executive advisement services, leadership associates. Is there a motion?
I think it's D4, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry, D4.
Yeah, D4.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Peterson, is there any discussion?
yeah, I have a question. Do we need to have service leadership associate? Do we need to have service from leadership associate for the upcoming school year? In the amount of $29,500 from general fund. Do we need to have another contract with them?
Yeah, the answer is there's a couple of things in there that gets. Number one, there's executive coaching that goes along with that per agreements by the board. And the second thing that's in there is that in the event that we want to hold any outside workshops for the board so that the board can grow professionally, this was an opportunity for to do the same. If you recall, 2 years ago, we did a board workshop on updating our board manual, our governance handbook, and so it gives us those opportunities.
That's up to that amount. That's not a set amount, it's up to that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? All right, we'll call for the question. Mr. Rose?
No.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. Motion carries 4 yes, 1 no, 0 abstentions. Item number 5, contract agreement, Superintendent's Leadership Network, Leadership Associates, Inc. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, Dr. Aguilar, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Peterson, any discussion?
Yeah, I'm gonna vote on this one as well. I think we have enough leaders in our district can move forward with this, tighten our belt. That's the reason I vote no.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Aguilar?
I think just similarly, I agree with the sentiment. I think it's important to be, financially prudent. At the same time, I think it's extremely valuable to ensure and even improve the level of leadership and organizational leadership that we see across the district. So, I think it's always one of those questions as a board, we do have to weigh what are the realized benefits. There is a cost, but there's also a very real benefit associated with that cost. And in this particular case, I think that's extremely valuable. I think the benefit that we receive, we've seen evidence of those benefits over the past several years. I think I can attest to the level of leadership improving and organizationally and the culture really benefiting from that. And I'm excited to see that continue.
Thank you. Any more comments? Mr. Peterson?
Yeah, I'd just like to echo Dr. Aguilar. It's important for our leaders to continue their development. It's not like you become a leader and you stop leading or stop learning how to lead, because different philosophies come across all the time, and there's always a better way to do things. So it's imperative that we have someone there to come in to help our leaders be better leaders. And I think it makes our school sites better. And like with our new adult ed principal, there's gonna be a coach assigned to her through this, and I think that's imperative. And it's important that we maintain this for our employees.
I also believe in the benefit of staff development and executive coaching. And I also believe in staff being able to make the decisions on that coaching, what makes the most sense for them. So I believe that when we have services like this, the decision on who they choose is best left with the folks who will be receiving the service. And also keeping in mind that that means they can change it if they want to change it. So for that reason, I think it's important we allow our staff here to have the flexibility of choosing who they select for professional development. Any more comments? All right, I'll call for the question. Mr. Rose?
No.
Mrs. Flores?
Yes.
Dr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
I am also a yes. Motion carries 4 yes, 1 no, 0 abstentions. All right, we'll move along to board comment. Mr. Rose?
Well, I think I appreciate the district providing information on the budget the last few meetings. It's been entertaining as well. It's been entertaining for all of us. 3 things come to mind when it comes to budget that concern me. One is that we're not getting any more money from the federal. Our ADA was the lowest than 92%. We lost $1.3 million. And we gave raises to everyone in the district from top to bottom. And it cost us $3.6 million. So that's a lot of money in 3 categories all at one time. And that's why I asked a lot of questions about the budget. How are we going to get through this? And I think we will. Is that we need to be more diligent in how we spend. And the reason for the leadership, the No on the Leadership Association, gets set an example to the people in the district. We should be tightening our belt. We have leaders here that are capable of training other employees. Dr. Jordan, Dr. Kim, Dr. Abrahamson, and Carol Bradford. They're great leaders. Why not use them? They have the skills, they have the capability to train them. That's all I'm saying is that it's time to tighten our belt. That's all.
Thank you. Mrs. Flores?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging on, Heather and Kim. I want to take this opportunity to thank Charter Oak. And my daughter graduated from UC Riverside on Tuesday, so proud mom moment. Yay. She is a graduate of this district, starting with Badilla, with Kim Hopstein there. So thank you to the Badilla family, continuing to Royal Oak with Mrs. Thompson, and graduating at Charter Oak High School. So very much a proud mom moment when my daughter received her degree. So it's all because of people like you that make a difference in the lives of our children. So yes.
Is it a bachelor's degree?
Yes, my daughter got her bachelor's degree from UC Riverside. So again, very proud mama moment. Thank you for all the end of the year festivities. It was a great year. Hopefully you'll all do something fun and exciting for the summer. And August 14th will be here before we know it. So thank you all. And thank you, Heather, for leading our summer school this year. Let's have a great year. And again, thank you, Ms. Brownford, for your work on the budget. Thank you to your team. Ms. Abraham, Dr. Abrahamson, thank you. Dr. Kim and Dr. Jordan, thank you as well for your leadership. And I also want to thank Ms. Mikesell, who keeps it all together, right? She's the one that really keeps us all on track. So thank you to her for her leadership as well. So thank you all. Let's have a great summer.
Thank you. Let's see, a brief update. Last week, I mentioned how Charter Oak High School was able to host one of the premier drum corps in the country by the name of Pacific Crest as that particular organization. I got a chance to go to their preview performance, and it was outstanding. Really incredible stuff. I believe we've hosted them for a week in the summer for the past several years, maybe 3-4 years or so. And I've gotten a chance to see their performance. It's early in their season, right? They're still in the process of building and working things up. But I would even venture to say that I think this year is a cut above even what I've seen in previous years from them. So it was really exciting. It's a really cool partnership. I kind of wanted to maybe just highlight the fact that our district does establish partnerships with outside groups to use facilities, to not only to be able to, acquire some funds in that particular case, but also to support these particular activities. And I think that's great. It shows where our priorities lie. And as they partnered, I believe the attendance for that evening ended up serving as a fundraiser for our own marching band program. So they were able to donate all the funds, all the ticket sales from their event to our program, which is great too. So, I mean, it's an amazing partnership. Everybody gets to benefit, and I'm really proud to see the district, say yes to these types of opportunities to partner with outside communities as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Dr. Jordan, congratulations on your evaluation. We appreciate your leadership and guidance. As a parent of a student in the district, I appreciate the vision you set forth for her, as well as the staff, the teachers, and the administrators. You can tell the difference from when she started kindergarten until now. You can tell a difference that this district has, and it's because of your guidance, so I appreciate all that. To you and your team for all the hard work, the LCAP, the budget, trying to figure all this out. It's not an easy job. I know it's taxing, but you have the right people in place. So great job in that. I know it's summertime. I hope everyone has a safe and enjoyable summer. As you can tell from the business side of things today, it's not summertime here. There's a lot of people working very hard, and they'll continue to do so. And as Ms. Flores says, August 14th gets here pretty quick. So have a safe and enjoyable summer, and thank you.
Thank you. So budget season is always a difficult time, especially when state revenues are down. So I appreciate the dialogue that we've had here and with the community around this topic. I definitely agree. We'll have to continue the due diligence in ensuring that we have a budget that continues to set our district up for success. And I thank the team here at the district for being able to do that for us. Job well done, and I really appreciate it. I also want to thank the community for coming out, giving comments, and listening online. This is the epitome of civic engagement, and this is how we continue to keep Charter Oak strong. A few upcoming events. Senator Rubio Wings program for girls is on September 28th. It's Women Inspiring the Next Generation of Sisterhood. Mrs. Flores and I have attended in the past. They teach the young ladies a lot of skills, including etiquette. It's a free event. It's going to be at DeWardy High School at 8:30 in the morning. So if you know of any young women who would like to attend, please send them that information. Also, Assemblywoman Rubio, the sister, has her group of young legislators, 7 of whom are Charter Oak students, and they will all be taking a field trip to our state capitol and having a lunch with elected officials this coming week. Last year, they got to have lunch with our lieutenant governor, which was a great opportunity for the students. They got to see how the legislative process worked at the state level and hear directly from our elected officials throughout the state. Also, FAFSA, it's not too late. If you have signed up for college or community college and have not yet done your FAFSA, you can still do it. There is still a lot of money left in California. We're actually one of the states with the lowest FAFSA completion due to all of the reasons we talked about previously, but it's not too late to get that in. Speaking of money for college, the deadline to consolidate your student loans will be on June 30th to participate in all of the programs that are available now. So if you have not yet consolidated, consider it by June 30th. Speaking of June, yesterday was Juneteenth, which is the celebration of the announcement of freedom for enslaved African Americans. It came a little late, 18 months to be exact, after the signing of the proclamation, the Emancipation Proclamation, but it took them, about a year and a half to make it over to Galveston and let people know that they no longer were enslaved and had to work for free. So it's now a federal holiday. Every June, I will make this same announcement in celebrating freedom. Last but not least, I am very proud to be a part of a district where students and staff can be themselves and that we accept them for who they are. So in closing, happy Pride Month. Thank you.